As you might be aware, HCL Unica is now cloud native and can be installed on various cloud platforms. One such instance is installing Unica on Docker. However, before doing any installations, there are some prerequisites required. The same is the case here, and I would be covering the prerequisites for installing Unica 12.1 on Docker in today's video. For this video, I have my virtual machine already set up with Linux 7.7 and updated with latest libraries. Before we can start with our task, I would like to tell you about the recommended requirements for any system that is planning to do the installation of Unica on Docker. For this information, I am referring to the guide available for Docker installation. All these guides are available for everyone at doc.unica.com. As you can view the guide on my screen, you can see the minimum hardware requirements listed out, which has memory as 64 GB, storage as 150 GB, and CPU as 8 CPU machines. And if I scroll down, you can also see the software requirements. So as in my case, I'm using RHEL. So for RHEL, it is version 7.3 or above, and I'm on version 7.7. So that fulfills the task. Other than that, we have database that are supported, and I would be not covering the installation but the prerequisites, so we won't be seeing any database installation in this video. You can see the other requirements for application server and any other software requirements that is mentioned over here. These are the minimum that Unica installation on Docker expects it to be. Okay, so let's now move on with our prerequisite installation now. So in this video, we will be doing installation for three basic software that are required. One is Docker itself, the other one would be Kubernetes, and the last one would be Helm. I have also listed down all the commands that I would be needing over here, and I'll be running them one by one and let you know what we are doing. So the first command over here is to uninstall any older version of Docker present on your machine. So Docker was earlier known as Docker or Docker Engine, and in order to avoid any conflict of Docker version, we would be simply doing a check whether your system has any older version, and we'll be removing it. Now, since I don't have any older version of Docker on my machine, I'll simply run it and there won't be any effect due to it. So the command is now running. As you can see, it says no match because I don't have any older version here. Okay, and next we will need to set up Docker and RHEL repositories that we will need during the installation. For that, I have the commands listed over here. So all these commands, they will take care of the repositories. Instead of running them one by one, I'm running them all together. It will take a few minutes for the command to run. As you can see now, all these four commands have executed one by one and the repositories are updated. I would like to add one point over here. As we are doing the installations, I have logged in with the root user, so I expect that you will also have the root privileges and you need to have yum command running on your machine in order to follow this video. Okay, so now that we are done with the repositories, we would then set the release version and base architecture for our operating system in the session, and we can do that by running these next two commands. So this command, it will set the release version, So I have set it to 7, and the next one is base architecture. So this is also done. Okay, and now in order for Docker to be installed, it expects some libraries to be present. So I'll be installing those one by one over here. So this is the first one. And while it's installing, I'll copy the next command that I need to run. So as I told you in the beginning of the video, I have the utilities updated to the latest version. So in my case, it is saying that it's already installed and on latest version. So it has nothing to do. I'll check for the other one as well. Same over here. So we are done with this. Now we are going to install the Docker itself. So this is the command over here to install Docker. But as you can see in the command, I have listed out a version. So it's up to you how you want to proceed with the installation. You can have a certain version of Docker, or you can install the latest one. You don't need to specify the version over there, but you need to keep in mind the latest, the least supported version as mentioned in the guide that you're installing the. Okay, so now we move ahead with our next command. So it is just asking me for confirmation, and now it's installing the packages. So you can see we are doing the installation of these 3 packages along with the dependent packages. It will install all of them one by one. It is almost done now, and now it's complete. So Docker is basically installed now on my machine. The next step would be to enable and start Docker service. We can do that by running the next 2 commands. So the first one would be to enable Docker services. It's a straightforward one. So it has created a symlink and the service is enabled now. Next is to start the Docker service. Yeah, so now Docker service is started as well. So if you need to verify whether the Docker service is running properly or not, you can run the command as shown here. You can see that it is running, and to do a certain health check, we will run a couple of Docker commands to see if it is working properly or not. The first one would be a simple command to run an image called hello world, which will just print out a message for you on the screen. So as you can see, it says here that this message shows that your installation appears to be working correctly. So we have completed the installation, and if you want to check, then you can check the version as well. So it will show you the version for client and server both. So this is the client part and this is the server part. So with that, we are done with the installation of Docker. So now we will move on to our next installation, that is Kubernetes. Before that, I'll clear out the screen. Okay, so just like Docker, for Kubernetes as well, we have some prerequisites that we need to take care of before we can do the actual installation of Kubernetes. First up, we'll make security changes specific to SE Linux as shown over here. So I have opened the document containing the commands that would be needed for Kubernetes installation. So this one. So we'll start from here. We'll simply run them one by one. And so it will update your configuration file for SE Linux. And then we are done with this. And next step will be to enable ports that we will require for Kubernetes functioning. So it needs some specific ports that needs to be running. Okay, so we'll run this commands one by one. During the execution of this, you might get a warning message that some of the port is already covered. So we can ignore that message. It is not an issue. Let's see, for this one we got a warning message, but that's okay. We'll move ahead. Another one. So these were the two that I expected it to be. So we have enabled all the ports that we needed, and now we'll simply reload the firewall. So we are done with the port changes. Now, in order for Kubernetes to run, we also need to clear bridge IP table as well as disable swap space. So in the newer version of Kubernetes, there is a requirement to disable the swap space as it won't start if you have a swap space enabled. So first we'll make the changes for the bridge IP table. So we have cleared out the IP table now, and now we'll disable and remove the swap space. So that is done as well. Now, to install any packages on Linux, we need the repositories specific to it added on the machine. So for Kubernetes, we also need a separate repository added. So adding of repository can either be done by command execution like we did for Docker, or we can manually create a repo file that is located at /etc/repos.d. So we would be creating that file manually over here rather than downloading from location. So I'll create a repo file. So I have already the content copied over here that I need to put into the repo file. I'll simply paste it over here. And if you want to verify, so I have the repo file over here. Now we can proceed with the installation of Kubernetes. So in case of Kubernetes, we would be installing three packages. One is kubelet, the other one is kubeadm, and the third one is kubectl. So we'll copy this command. And like we have seen earlier, it's now installing the packages required for them. and the installation is now complete. So now we need to restart and enable both Docker and Kubernetes services, as Kubernetes will be working hand in hand with Docker. Kubernetes will be dependent on Docker for certain information. So we'll first restart Docker using the command over here. So Docker restart is done, and then we'll restart Kubernetes as well. So that is also done now. Now the next one in turn is kubeadm. So the command to initialize kubeadm is, as you can see over here, it's kubeadm init. We'll run this command. It takes a couple of minutes to get completed, so we'll wait for the command to be complete. As you can see, the installation is now complete. The most important part over here is the message that you see on the screen starting from this line. So this will provide you the instructions for the commands that you need to execute further. I'll just copy and paste it over here. I had it listed over here just in case, but we won't be needing this, so I'll replace it. Okay. Before we proceed with the next command that is over here, we'll just verify the services. So first we check the Docker status. You can see it as running. Next is for kubelet that we installed just now, and we can see kubelet is also in active state. So now we next proceed with the next commands. The first one is to create a .kube file within the home directory. Next, we don't need the sudo as we are from the root user. So it gives you an option if you see on the screen. You can either do this, or if you're a root user, you can directly run this command. So since I'm logged in with root, I'll anyways run this command as well. Okay, so this is now done. So you should now deploy a pod network to the cluster, it says, so we can ignore this one. Next that we need to run for now is we don't need to do this one because we have everything running on the same server, so we don't need to run this particular command. We'll next move to this particular command, which will join your worker nodes. You might see some error message, but you can ignore it. That is completely fine. Okay, this is done now. Now we need to run the commands to set the Kubernetes version first. So this is done, and then we'll apply this particular parameter over here. Okay, So this command execution is also complete. And with this, our installation of Kubernetes is also complete. We have a couple of commands that we can use to check the status, whether Kubernetes is installed properly or not. The first one is to get the nodes. Kubernetes node, it's currently showing as not ready state. We have just completed the command execution, so it will take a few seconds for it to be ready. So we'll wait for it. We'll check again now. And as we can see, it is now in ready state. The other things that we'll check is the namespaces that would be created by now. And as you can see, all the namespaces are created and in running state. So we have completed our Kubernetes installation and have completed the verification as well. Now we move on to our next tool in line. That is the last one, which is Helm. So before I proceed for Helm, I'll just clear out the screen. Now, in order to download the package for Helm installer, we'll first create a directory and download the file over there. So I'll create a folder called stage. For my case, you can have any folder that you want. You can download it over there, and then we'll download the package. I'm using Helm 2.17. So I'll download the package. First, I'll go to that path, and then so it's now downloading the package. I'll verify the file, so it's here. So once it's downloaded, I need to uncompress the file. So I have the command listed to do that as well. So it will simply decompress the file. I can verify over here. So I can see a folder called Linux AMD 64. So, and next we are going to copy the Helm binaries that we see over here within this folder to the path directory of your server. So I'm going to copy it to two of our most common binary paths for Linux. First is /usr/bin and the other one is /usr/local/bin. So I'll copy it over there one by one. So you can see the command over here. There is a folder called Helm within this folder that is containing the libraries. I'll copy it over here. And then I'll copy it over to the other directory and done. This is done now. The next command that we need to execute over here is this. And then I'll run the command. It gets executed immediately. It has the node untainted now. Now, similar to kube ADM, we'll initiate Helm as well, and the command to do so is helm init. However, it should not take much time like it did earlier for Kubernetes. Yeah, so it's done now. The command is now complete, and we'll give it a few seconds for the tiller pod to be up. This command will create a tiller pod. So we'll check the status running that same command that we did earlier. And we can see over here there is a new namespace created for the tiller, 28 seconds. So that is also done. It's in running state. So that is also done over here. Now, with this, our Helm installation is also complete. We'll run a couple of commands to check that. So we'll run Helm version, and it is expected to show a two-line output, one for the client and one for the server. So as we can see, it is here. But there are a few activities that we need to do. So we'll just make a small change to the repository for the Helm. So I'll remove the existing repository, and then I'll update it with this new repository, and then I'll update the repository for the Helm. And it's done. So now all the tools required for installation of Unica 12.1 on Docker is complete. We'll just do one final round of check before we are done with our video today. And for that, we'll run the commands that we have listed over here. It's similar to the command that we have executed earlier. It's just a summary part. So we'll do it again. So we can see the status as ready. I will run this other command over here. It will have all the namespaces in running state. And the last one that we saw just a while back, it's for Helm version. And we can see the two-line update that we were expecting. So before we proceed with Unica installation on Docker, we need to have these three commands running properly. It will be a pre-check when we do installation of Unica. So we'll run these three commands usually and check if everything is running properly or not, the command output are expected or not, and then only we proceed. So this will also be a part of prerequisite check when we do the Unica installation. But for now, we are done with the prerequisites part, and we have completed the installation now. So thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Have a great day.